Hey there, I'm John.
And I'm Josh.
And we are up to the results of Week 7 of 2024 college football season. And we're going to jump right on in there. So let's start off with number 4 Penn State. They were at USC. And this one, it looked like USC was going to win it.
Man,
they were
really
sort of
did.
controlling it a good bit of the game. And nope, Penn State came back at the end and puts this thing away.
Yeah, I think this was...
With an overtime.
Yeah. A couple of things. I think USC, Moss, their quarterback, very young, bright future. I think USC, this is almost like a rebuilding year in my mind for them. Obviously, they're overhyped at the beginning of the season like they always are. But I do foresee them getting back to that elite level. And then Penn State, this is just a good win. You're a top 10 team. You need to pull it out. Coming back from behind like that, I think it's good for every team to have a game like this, especially if you can pull off the win. So great win for Penn State.
Yeah, it was. So number 1, Texas. They were at Oklahoma. Number 18, Oklahoma. And, you and I said this felt like a lopsided game. Last week we said that. It was lopsided.
It was, yeah.
Texas just dominated, 34-3. It wasn't much of a Red River shootout at all. It was just a blowout.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, he looked a little slow for the first minute.
Yeah. Didn't slow down after that.
Didn't take long for him to absolutely just recover. Texas, by far and large, in my mind, looks like the number 1 team in the country.
They did.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Number 9, Ole Miss. They were at number 13, LSU. And they pulled off the win. LSU pulled off the win here, 29-26 in front of a home crowd.
This was another.
But it was a battle.
Yeah, this was another game where I thought Ole Miss was going to win, and then out of nowhere, LSU comes back and.
Yep.
I was very impressed.
Nussmeier put it together. He was able to drive it down. Yeah.
I mean, it was a good quarterback battle.
Yeah, it really was. Just like you
also
expected.
Looked awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I think both of these teams very talented, very evenly matched. It showed on the field.
Yeah.
The SEC, besides Texas, is fun right now, man.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Nope, you sure don't. Arizona was at number 14, BYU. We were expecting BYU to win this one big, and they won it big.
Yeah, absolutely.
They won it big, 41-19.
I don't think there's too much to say about this besides BYU still rolling, right? I mean, they're
still
undefeated
rolling.
and they're looking good.
They are. South Carolina was at number 7, Alabama, in front of the home crowd. So
if Alabama had lost back-to-back games at home, that would have been tough.
I tell you.
No, it wouldn't have been at home. They lost. I forget. It was at Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt feels like home for them.
Yeah. The sad thing about this game, Alabama actually played some pretty decent ball in the game. They fairly well controlled the game, but there were just some mistakes that were made. There were some just some mess ups. They're still getting penalties and all of those things. Milroe just makes me scratch my head. I just can't figure out what some of the things he does. But defensively, I would say this. So last week we saw this against Vanderbilt. We see this now. Alabama is so predictable on defense. I'm a guy who doesn't really know defense that well, and I can predict it.
Yeah.
I can see exactly what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
And it's just like anybody can run on them. Anybody can move the ball on them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a coaching problem because to me, that's not you've got the talent. These guys are talented guys.
Yeah. Absolutely, for sure. I mean, you have the top tier talent, right? I see 2 big points for me. One, if you're any team about to play Alabama, all you need to run is this triple option where you have the option to either pitch it or pitch it forward, right?
Yeah.
Because their little fullback is so open every single time when they do that.
It is.
2, if Alabama had lost this game, people would be... They're not talking about it much because they won. But if Alabama hadn't scored at the end of the game there, they had just fallen over instead of scoring the touchdown, they would have just kneeled it out, right?
Yeah.
Said they score, South Carolina goes down, scores quickly, and gets the onside kick.
Yeah.
Woo! Way too close of a game.
Way too
Granted,
close.
the very end was just boring because South Carolina quarterback just lobbed it up on a non-Hail Mary play.
Yeah.
I don't know
what
he
that
was
was
thinking,
either.
but
I was thankful for it. But
Alabama scrapes by and wins, right?
Yeah.
So that's all that matters. Winning the game.
That is. Mississippi State was at number 5 Georgia, and we were expecting this to be a really one-sided game, and it really wasn't.
Yeah. So the score is
41-31.
Yeah, Georgia It's a 10-point game, which makes it feel pretty close.
I know
Georgia
it was
had
not
won,
that close.
Yeah. And
yes.
the first half, I would say, was really close. It was like 13-10.
Yeah.
But this game, Georgia was well in control.
Yeah,
in the second half.
They were.
That being said, allowing Mississippi State to score 31 points on you.
Yeah.
Good luck next week. Right? I mean, goodness gracious.
Yes, absolutely. Number 18, Kansas State for the late game at Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And
This
it was a
a good
game.
Yeah, I
It was a
watched
game.
this one.
Yeah.
because I was already up for the Boise
Yep.
game, and this was a good game. Travis Hunter got hurt, kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he comes back. I mean, people are saying this when you play somebody for 98% of snaps, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for him not to get hurt. So maybe this will be
It's
a
true.
sign to pull him back a little bit. Put him. I mean, he's always going to play a lot, but like
Yeah.
he might be playing a little much. Nobody can sustain playing as much as he's been playing.
It's true.
Kansas State, I think this is a big win for them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And Kansas State has just been interesting all year because they'll like, ever since their loss, they've steadily been improving. And I think
Yeah.
Colorado, like I said last week,
It's been improving
has
as
actually
well.
been a good team.
Yeah,
right?
they have
Besides
been.
that Nebraska loss, they've
Yeah.
looked good.
Yeah. So this was good battle.
This was a good battle.
It was.
Big 12, this was a great game for them.
Yeah. So group of 5, the things that happened with this one, again, the really, really late game.
Yeah.
Number 17, Boise State
Last
was
game of the day.
way over at Hawaii. So this was a very late one. And what you said that, I saw the replay and everything of it. They started off a little bit slow.
Yes.
Which is not unusual. We've
Especially
seen that before.
at Hawaii.
Yeah.
Most teams start off. Hawaii's defense was averaging 12 points a game at home,
Yeah.
right? It's just hard to go all the way to Hawaii and look like you're fresh.
Yeah.
That being said, goodness gracious, it felt like we were playing the triple option, but via the pass, right? I mean, it's just 3-yard pass, 4-yard pass, 3-yard pass, and you're just sitting there and you're like, this is the most painful, longest drive of my life. That eventually stalls out, but great. There goes 7 minutes of my time of watching Hawaii perform the most boring offense I've ever witnessed in my life. And like finally, Ashton Jeanty did very well. He 200 and something yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. Maddox Madsen had his rough moments actually. The first half, the kid underthrew multiple passes. Stats wise, he didn't look too bad, and then the defense like. The whole game, I was just like, our defense is so bad. And like the game ends and I realized we only gave up, 270 yards and 7 points. And I'm like, well, man, maybe I'm giving them too hard of a time. But man, the thing that bothered me the most, and we move on after this, is every single third down play, no matter what the down and distance was, Boise rushed seven people, right? So 4 plus 3.
Yeah.
Every single time. And like, it was so predictable. And it was so obvious what we were going to do, and it
sounds
worked
like Alabama's
some.
defense.
But like, I'm like, man, like, I kind of wish we didn't rush as much as we do.
Yeah.
Look, it worked. We got 8 sacks, but like, I wish we didn't rush or make it as obvious that we're rushing as much as we do.
Yeah. Not every
single
third
play,
down
man. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, UNLV was at Utah State. We were expecting this to be fairly lopsided.
Yeah.
It was actually a little closer than. Utah State still scored
remember,
34 points.
Same thing for Boise,
Yeah, they
right?
scored
when Boise
30.
played, they scored 30.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
UNLV scored 50 though. So
and this goes back to my when you score 50 points, it's really hard for your defense to not. That means the Utah State's offense is getting the ball
a lot.
So much.
That's right.
So much.
That's
so
right.
I don't necessarily fault UNLV too much. That's a good win for them. 50-34.
Yeah. And we had already mentioned the FIU and Liberty game,
Yeah.
Liberty winning that. We mentioned that last week because it was a Tuesday game.
Yep.
Coastal Carolina was at James Madison, and both of them came into this. What were they 4-1
Yeah.
going into it? And James Madison took care of business.
James
on this
Madison, you ruined your season by
Sure
losing
did.
to UL Monroe. You
Yeah.
ruined it, man. You had everything you needed. An undefeated James Madison right now would probably be right outside the top 25, if not ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. UAB was at Navy, expecting this to be very lopsided.
It was.
It was. It was lopsided. 44-10.
I really need to watch a Navy or Army game to figure out what these
What are these
offenses
guys
are
doing?
doing.
Yeah.
How are you both undefeated right now?
and putting up big numbers.
Yeah, I
every
really
week.
need to watch this. Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
good on you, Navy. Week 7 upset results. What happened this week?
Oh boy,
you got both of them.
What? All right, let's go ahead and start with the Friday night game. Number 16 Utah at Arizona State. The score was 27-19. Arizona State pulls this one off. Let me tell you, this one wasn't that difficult for me because I've watched Utah's offense without their starting quarterback, and it might be one of the worst things I have ever watched, and I am still standing by that.
Yeah.
And Arizona State, I just don't think they're that bad of a team. Any team that plays Arizona State has a chance of losing. So,
okay.
yeah, great.
But,
great
but the other one, the biggest game of the week,
Yes.
obviously was number 2 Ohio
Lived up to
State,
it,
number
right?
3 Oregon, and it lived up to it. This was a
Goodness.
battle down to the wire.
This was so fun.
Man, but Dylan Gabriel, he really shined. He did what needed to be done at the end of that game.
Yeah, Will Howard versus Dylan Gabriel.
Howard had some frustrating moments in it, but man, I tell you,
He did exactly what Nico Collins did earlier this season, and I don't understand what quarterbacks are doing. But when you there needs to be a lesson on time management for these
Yes.
situations. I don't understand what
the
you're
last
doing.
play of the game it was not thought through.
It would have been better to throw it away than
Yes.
rush up the middle.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting out of bounds, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Dylan Gabriel looked amazing. Last little bit about Boise, because Boise, Oregon. Dylan Gabriel moved up to like number 2 in the Heisman polls and stuff, and it's just a funny situation for Boise because obviously we want Oregon to win.
Yeah.
As Boise fans, we almost beat Oregon. It makes us look great as our only loss. But the more Dylan Gabriel and Oregon win, probably the more competition Ashton Jeanty will get in the
goes to
Heisman.
Dylan.
So it's kind of like, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's quite the dilemma. But Oregon, huge win. I'm so happy
Huge.
these games are close. Like Alabama, Georgia was really close. This game was really close. It shows that the top talent is actually competing well against each other.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All right. That's what we had for week 7. Join us when we talk about week 8.